What is up, you beautiful money-minded rebels? It is your favorite 25-year-old financial guru back again. And today, oh boy, do we have a doozy to unpack. You know, a lot of people hit me up, they ask, hey, what is the secret to making serious dough? And I tell them the truth, a simple truth, but nobody ever believes me. They're too busy chasing shiny objects, too busy listening to the noise, and not enough time looking at the cold, hard facts. Because every single unnecessary expense, my friends, is you. Yes, you, personally firing a loyal employee, an employee who was tirelessly working to make you richer. So today, we're not just talking about money, we're talking about something far more valuable, your critical thinking skills. Because what I'm about to lay out for you, it is going to make your jaw drop. It is going to make you question everything you thought you knew about this alleged White House shooting incident, and how it conveniently ties into a little something called the Golden Ballroom. Remember last Saturday, when the news was buzzing about a shooting at the White House, right around the same time, Donald Trump was out there announcing this super controversial deal with Iran. And fun fact, he wasn't even at his son's wedding that day. Talk about commitment. Anyway, we talked about some of the red flags back then, but hold on to your hats, because since that video, even more red flags have popped up, like a bad rash after a cheap hotel stay, and we've got some court records now, real, tangible evidence about the individual who was allegedly the shooter, who, by the way, is now dead. His name was Nasir Best, 21 years old, used to clock in at an Amazon factory, and allegedly he had schizophrenia, believed he was none other than Jesus Christ himself. Now, this isn't some random guy, folks. He had numerous run-ins at the White House, where he'd made these threatening statements, promised to do some really horrible things in 2025. These court records, they're like a neon sign flashing failure to appear, FTA for short, going all the way back to July 2025. He was on the radar of the Trump regime officials. For a very, very long time, he was on the Secret Service's radar. And ultimately, the buck, it stops with Jeanine Pirro, the United States Attorney for Washington, D.C. She is the top federal prosecutor in D.C. Now, how the D.C. court system works, it is a bit of a labyrinth, but basically the Superior Court Division, their lawyers, they all report to the United States Attorney, that is Jeanine Pirro. Our top federal prosecutor, she oversees the Superior Court Division. So Pirro, she is overseeing the very lawyers who knew this guy, Nasir Best, who was making all these threats around the White House, was just, out there on the loose, and a super basic surveillance around the White House. I mean, even I, a humble financial blogger, could tell you would have shown this guy was still in the area. He didn't just vanish into thin air. He was right there in Washington, D.C. And they did absolutely nothing about it. At the very least, this is a massive security breakdown. And as you climb up that ladder of responsibility, the questions get bigger. Did Jeanine Pirro and the Trump regime know about this guy, know about his threats? I think they were at least on constructive notice, and they allowed him to be in that area to keep making these threats. And then the big juicy question, why did they allow it to happen? So it could be used as a pretext for the Golden Ballroom. Because the Trump regime, Donald Trump, his White House spokespeople, immediately after this incident, they all started screaming, you see, we need the Golden Ballroom. We need the Golden Ballroom. Now, I'm not here to say the shooting didn't happen. I'm not going there. But my question, the one that keeps me up at night, is were they aware that they had these violent schizophrenic individuals who were far enough away from the White House where there wasn't a real immediate threat, but they would cause these situations, these scenes, that could then be used as a pretext to say, see, I'm not safe. I need a Golden Ballroom that taxpayers, your hard-earned money, needs to pay for. And let's not forget the timing, folks. Right in the middle of Donald Trump announcing this catastrophic deal with Iran, and him getting absolutely hammered by his own party, no less. Let's dive into the data, shall we? As we always do here on the Midas Touch Network. Let's go through the court filings. Let's go through the Superior Court rules. We stick to the facts here. You can draw your own implications, but we're just laying out the facts. Late last night, Donald Trump's Department of Justice made another court filing, and it looks like Donald Trump himself wrote this thing, trying to leverage this purported shooting on Saturday to build that ballroom and to stop a judge from blocking the ballroom construction. The Trump DOJ, they call this latest episode an assassination attempt. They cite news reports, but no other proof, no legal cases, and it ends with an exclamation point. As Josh Gerstein so eloquently put it, let's go through this filing that Donald Trump made last night. I mean, doesn't this just scream red flags? Here's what it says. Notice of supplemental authority in support of motion for indicative ruling dissolving the court's injunction. In plain English, it means, hey judge, stop blocking the construction of our ballroom, we need it built, because of this incident that just took place. And here is what the Trump DOJ wrote. Though again, it really sounds like Donald Trump's prose, On Saturday night, May 23rd, a shooter once again sought to murder the president, his family, and his staff. At the historic White House complex, we submit this urgent filing to update the court on a second attempted assassination on the president. Within a single month, last night, shortly after 6 p.m., an armed assassin approached a White House security checkpoint near 17th Street and Pennsylvania Avenue Northwest, professionally pulled a high-caliber gun from a bag, and opened fire in the exact direction of the White House. Brave Secret Service officers returned fire. The gunman was killed, and an innocent bystander was seriously wounded in the shooting. This second attack on the president this month underscores the critical need for top-level state-of-the-art security at the White House, including the Ballroom, a knitted, unified, cohesive part of the East Wing project, which is vital for national security, and is being constructed to ensure the president can perform his constitutional duties in a safe and heavily secured facility. The court's unlawful injunction has wrongfully cast a cloud of uncertainty around the future of the entire East Wing project, which is being constructed for the physical safety and security of all presidents, their safety, foreign dignitaries, and guests. When completed, this highly knitted, integrated, and unified project, which is a singular and vital national security facility, will provide a safe haven from attackers, such as the one last night. And on April 25th, referring to the White House Correspondents' Dinner incident, which also, by the way, raised massive red flags. And when Donald Trump filed something just like this, right after that incident, then Trump concludes this motion by saying, in light of the recent attacks against President Trump's life, including 2 attempts in less than a month, the injunction entered by this court for the benefit of a strolling woman who filed suit against the East Wing project, long before she knew what was going to be built. This is a woman who is known for being a serial plaintiff throughout D.C., and who has absolutely no standing, must immediately be vacated, and this suit, which is a complete embarrassment to our country, must be dismissed. This is a terrible, tremendously harmful case to the United States of America, and it and all it stands for! Exclamation point. Now, go back to the first page when Donald Trump was like, this individual, he pulled out the weapon in a very professional style, and he knew exactly what he was doing. Let's go through the facts of who the shooter who was killed actually was, because here on the Midas Touch Network, we stick with the facts. So, let's talk about fact number 1. Here is the suspect. He was killed in this incident. On Saturday late evening, his name was Nasir Best, 21 years old. His online presence. The guy was online. People knew where he was. He believed he was Jesus Christ. He had other incidents around the White House. That is fact number 1, right? Let's go through his court document. Hatip Anarchy Princess. She does a great job pulling up a lot of these court records. She said she saw it being reported that the shooter, Nasir Best, had previously been arrested near the White House and received a stay-away order. Looks like he was released the day of that incident. July 11, 2025, did not stay in compliance with pretrial, never showed back up to court, and had a bench warrant. So that means he was arrested for previously making threats in 2025, and this actually happened multiple times. He didn't show up to his court case. There was a warrant for his arrest, but no one went out and arrested him. And think about this. With all of the effort that the Trump regime puts in to rounding up migrants and throwing them into concentration camps, and hunting down abuela who have been here 30 years, hard-working, tax-paying people, finding them, surveilling their homes, throwing them into detention centers. Someone who has made threats against the White House, and Donald Trump doesn't show up to court, and they're like, yeah, whatever. Just let's let this guy roam around Washington, D.C., red freaking flag. Let's look at the docket July 11th, 2020. 5 charges filed for what? Unlawful entry into the White House. Then they have a lot. Then they have his arraignments that day. You'll see that he was released the same. They released him that day. They gave him a stay-away order as you go through. He had to through the docket. He had to show back up August 7th, 2020. 5. He does not show up on August 7th, 2020. 5. An alert is issued. FTA means failure to appear for Nasir Best right there. And then it says the defendant did not appear for this hearing, and counsel of record did not have representations. The government's request for a warrant was granted. The government, they report to Janine Pirro, and then it basically, that is the last docket right there. We have the affidavit from before his arrest. This is July 10th, 2020. 5. Let me just share with you July 10th, 2020. 5. The event occurred Thursday, July 10th, 2020. 5 at 17:20, 6 hours right by the White House. Officer Vargas in full police uniform was working at a pedestrian access control post at the White House when he observed suspect 1, later identified as Nasir Best, walk into a restricted area by using the exit turnstile lane located by the station. The restricted area has multiple signs stating "Do not enter," and then goes on to say they arrived on scene. They see Secret Service sees him. They see that he was trying to gain access to these areas where he didn't belong. He was placed under arrest for unlawful entry. And so then they issued a warrant, a new interview with someone who knew Niar Bestro. Anarchy Princess Postit. We both worked alongside each other, sitting and chatting every day. He came to me about everything and everything was fine, until randomly he started talking about being in control of people and reality. And he started talking about being in reality and how he could tap into different frequencies and hear and peep things that we couldn't. Eventually Patterson said that Niar Best became convinced that he was God, which led him to quit his job at Amazon. He eventually blocked and stopped talking to his closest friends and disappeared. Patterson said, adding that Niar Best was not on good terms with his family. Best began having run-ins with Secret Service officers last summer when he would walk around the White House and stop at various entry points and ask officers how he could get inside, according to court records. In late June, the Secret Service sought to have Best involuntarily committed after he blocked a vehicle trying to enter the White House grounds. Then, on July 10th, Best was arrested after he walked through an exit turnstile, that was what I read for you before, and tried to go further into the White House grounds. Officers in court records said Best told them that he was Jesus Christ and that he wanted to get arrested. A D.C. judge released Best, who pled not guilty, apparently on the condition that he stay away from the White House, and then he didn't show up to his next court appearance. And again, you would think this would register at Jeanine Pirro's level, or at least some deputy's level. Hey, guy threatening Trump, threatening White House on the loose. He is saying he is Jesus. He is saying he is God. He keeps on doing it. No, they just let him go all over the place. Basically, just so you can see for yourself, that case was filed in Superior Court Division. It is the district, imagine like state court if you will, versus federal court, but that is district court. The Superior Court. The Superior Court Division is responsible for prosecuting most local crimes occurring within the District of Columbia. The mission of the Superior Court Division is to promote public safety and vindicate the rights of victims.